Hello world, Shelly here, and today I've got an update on my weight loss journey with compounded semaglutide. I know people say it different ways. Semaglutide is how I say it. Semaglutide, I know a lot of people say it that way. I'm going to say semaglutide. We're just going to get that right out of the way right now. If that bothers you, my apologies. Yeah, so this is my 11-month update. My last video was about 2 months ago. I did a 9-month update, I believe it was. So just today, I took my dose for week 45. So I'm just over 11 months on semaglutide. And I started at 274 pounds in the beginning last December, like right before the new year is when I started. And today I weighed in at 220.7, so I've lost just over 53 pounds in that amount of time without changing much of anything. I am more physically active because it's a lot easier to be more physically active having lost a bunch of weight. In consultation with my doctor, I have said that I want to get probably somewhere around 175 as my goal weight. She thinks that might be too low, but she said let's just not focus on the numbers and let's just keep rolling and see how things go. I'm totally cool with that. My rate of weight loss, if you average out the 53 pounds over 45 weeks, is currently about 1.2 pounds per week. However, over the summer, so August and September was, I'll talk about this in a minute, was basically moot. So, and now I'm back to my normal rate of loss, which is like 1.5 pounds to 1.75 pounds a week, which has been my norm for most of this time. So I've crossed the over 50 pound threshold. Now I turned 50 years old this past Monday, and my goal when I started this, I knew I wouldn't be done by my 50th birthday. But when I started this, I wanted to lose 50 pounds by my 50th birthday. And I did. So that's awesome. That feels amazing. So today what I want to update you on with the storytelling of my semaglutide journey, the things I've got on my list here. I've got it on my phone, so don't mind me. I'm looking on my phone here. Switching to a prescription from my doctor, the story of why August and September were basically a moot point for me, constipation and what I'm doing about that. Sorry if that's TMI, stomach sensitivity and some nausea issues that came up for me and what ended up being the cause and effect and how I dealt with that. And then just some general overall thoughts on how I'm feeling, how I'm looking, how it's affecting my outward, how much space I take up in the world, and all of that good stuff. So that's our agenda. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I do have previous videos. I will link them down below. The first video went into my whole weight loss background and what I've done in the past, what I had tried before I decided to take a medical intervention route to weight loss, etc. I will link all of those down below if you're interested in the backstory here. But that's what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, the good news. Thank you to everybody that encouraged me to go back and talk to my doctor about getting a prescription straight through her. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about why my insurance won't cover it. Basically, I'm not sick enough. I'm fat enough, but I'm not sick enough. Pardon the sarcasm. It really irritates me how our United States insurance system works. Our medical system is built on keeping people sick and not in proactive prevention. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I will just get mad. And I have gone down that rabbit hole in previous videos. But I went back to my doctor and discussed having her prescribe it straight through a compounding pharmacy. Previously, and I need to shout out Studio R Aesthetics in Charlottesville, Virginia. They only treat patients in Virginia. So if you're not in Virginia, you can't work with them anyway. But shout out to them. They were my entry point to getting this treatment. And Dr. Eitri and the professionals in their office have been absolutely fantastic. I ask a lot of questions, and I'm kind of an annoying person in that regard when it comes to things like this, because I'm not a person that's on medications. I take birth control and vitamins. That's it. Like, I don't have prescription medications in my life, really, and I only go get prescription medications when I really need them. So I had a lot of questions, and they were the first place that I was able to get this kind of treatment. And so I highly recommend them if you're in Virginia. If you're not able to get it through your general practitioner, your typical doctor, they do have medical doctors on staff that are doing the medical weight loss over there. So, but it was expensive. It was average $524 a month at the max dose, and so I was able to switch through my GP, my regular doctor, to have her prescribe it straight to a compounding pharmacy locally, and that saves me. So I'm paying now just under $350 a month. I'm at the max dose. I've been for a while now. That's 2.5 milligrams. So I take a 100-unit dose every week. And so I know that there are all kinds of online doctors that will prescribe it, and it's probably a little bit cheaper. I looked at a few different options, and the cheapest I could get was like $275 a month. I really want someone I can go talk to when a weird symptom pops up, or I want a local doctor, and for this kind of a thing. Because this is an injectable medication I'm taking, there are potential side effects, there are potential risks just to doing injections, let alone the medication. I just want a local doctor, and I'm glad I was able to have a local doctor through Studio R Aesthetics, and I'm glad that I'm able to now get it a little bit less expensively through my everyday, what do you call general practitioner, right? Like my regular everyday doctor that I go get my annual checkups from. Yeah, so that is saving me a little bit of money, which is nice. I just took my second dose of the supply that I got from my local doctor through the local compounding pharmacy. I'm also concerned about getting this medication online, because I will link down below the FDA warning. Not everybody that's selling what's called semaglutide is actually semaglutide. A lot of these compounding pharmacies are using semaglutide salts. That's not the same as the semaglutide that is in the proprietary formulary drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. So I want the real thing. I want the real thing, and I can confirm that the product I was getting through Studio R and the product I'm currently getting through my doctor are not the salts. They are not what's being warned about. They are semaglutide. So, and that it's just easier to confirm all of that when you have a physical human you can go talk to. So that's that update. Then let's talk about why August and September were basically a moot point as far as weight loss goes for me. August, I traveled a lot, and I ate out at restaurants basically every single meal of every single day. Part of that is just going to be higher quantities and calories because you're eating out and you're not preparing fresh food yourself. Part of that was, some of this was my vacation travel, some of it was work, some of it was vacation, celebration, friends, eating junk food. I went to the Museum of Ice Cream in Chicago, and literally the day we went to the Museum of Ice Cream, my entire diet consisted of ice cream sandwiches, ice cream, and stuffed pizza, because Chicago. So I didn't eat great, and I didn't restrict myself. Like, I ate a lot of junk food, and it was glorious and fantastic. Considering how much junk food I ate, over that month, I gained 5 pounds. And then in September, I lost those 5 pounds. So that is why August and September were a moot point. One thing that I was really happy about is that any other time of my life, I would have gained way more because my ability to eat lots of food didn't change. Like the semaglutide continued to regulate my appetite. I just ate more than I should have, and I knew I was eating beyond what I should be and what I felt like eating because, you know, A, lived my whole life as a fat girl, so yes, those urges still come every so often. B, celebrate, friends, ice cream. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I have no regrets because I lived my life. And I had fun, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And then I cut back and got back to eating those veggies and just being good at my diet. So, yeah. So that is why August and September I gained 5, lost 5. So that put me at a net 0. So that was 2 months of basically not losing any weight. October was not only back to normal, but it was interesting because it was back to like, I'm losing weight really well right now without modifying like anything else besides just, you know, trying to eat well. I have a little more physical activity, but I'm still not doing like workouts. I know I need to. I am conscious of the muscle loss. I talked about that in my last video. Muscle loss when you're losing weight is a very real concern. I've got a scale that it's not the proper way to measure how much muscle you've got because it's one of those scales that when you stand on it, it tells you how much muscle and fat you've got. But it's not, I know it's not the same as having a professional test of your muscle mass in a doctor's office. But I'm watching the trends, and so far the trends, I am not concerned. I am actually a higher percentage of muscle in my overall body weight than I was before I started all of this, even though the poundage has decreased. I reported all of this a few weeks ago when I visited my doctor. I'm going to see her again next week, and she's totally fine with the progress as it's occurring so far. But I do want to introduce more regular, dedicated exercise, workouts. I want to, more strength training is what I want to do, honestly. It's because that's my favorite thing anyway. I'm not a cardio fan at all. But I am walking a lot more than I used to in my unfit days. So, you know, that's still on my list of things I need to get better at. But I've been losing weight really well through October and filming this early November. So I know I still got my ghosts up and my pumpkin. I can't get rid of them. I love them. They're so cute. And I have no Thanksgiving decorations. So I really can't redecorate until Christmas. So say hi to my ghostie and my penguin and my skeletal unicorn friend because they're probably going to stay there for a little while. My bat friend is permanent. Oh, he's over here. Bat friend, permanent. Pikachu's over here. Those are permanent. Those don't go anywhere. But yeah, so that's the updates on August and September. If you don't want to hear about poop, keep going. I'm not going to get into any kind of detail. One of the main side effects that is talked about with semaglutide is constipation. And for many, many months, I had no problems. So I was like, yeah, I don't have to worry about that because I really haven't had many side effects at all. It finally hit me. So, yeah, that's an ongoing problem now. However, in my last video, a few people mentioned the possibility that adding a prebiotic/probiotic supplement could help. So I actually ended up going with just the Amazon version of a probiotic gummy because it is inexpensive. And I just wanted to see if it was going to help. I do eat yogurt, like Greek yogurt, on a regular basis that has active cultures in it. But apparently it was not enough because adding, and I'm only taking half a dose. The thing is 2 gummies per day, so I'm only eating 1 gummy per day. But it has actually helped kind of keep things moving. As long as I eat my vegetables every day, I have no problem. But even if I just skip a day and I'm just like not on the vegetable bandwagon that day, it triggers another week of, So, eat your vegetables. And the probiotic has helped. So I'm going to keep taking that. Speaking of taking new things, stomach sensitivity. This was new to me. So I have had a stomach made of steel all my life. To the extent that even to this day, every morning when I take my daily vitamins, I have a multivitamin, I supplement B12 because I'm a vegetarian, I supplement my omega-3s. I take my vitamins on an empty stomach, and I usually don't eat for several hours after that. And I've never had a problem with that. I've always been able to take vitamins on an empty stomach, take medication on an empty stomach. I've just never had trouble with my stomach. And a little over a month ago, maybe 5 to 6 weeks ago, late September, I changed one of my vitamins. I supplement B12, and I'd saw something on TikTok. Why am I taking medical advice from TikTok? I don't know. Don't do that. This, by the way, is not medical advice. Don't take your medical advice from YouTube either. Take your medical advice from your professional medical providers, from your doctors, from your health practitioners. This is not advice. This is just my experience and what works for me. I cannot tell you what to take, what will work for you, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Just relaying what works for me. Things that you can go talk to your doctor about. Anyway, saw this thing on TikTok. It was like a folate supplement, and in my blood work from my doctor, the only thing that was even borderline low, and it wasn't even low, but it was borderline low, was something that I looked up, and it said it had to do with folate. So I was like, oh, well, let me try this supplement, because this folate supplement also had B12 in it. So I was like, well, let me cancel my old B12, which I've been taking for like 2 decades, and try this new one. Well, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. So within a week or so of that, I started getting massive nausea. I mean, hours long, very just awful nausea. And I thought it must be the semaglutide. Now, when I first started the semaglutide, for the first few weeks, as I was told it would probably happen, I had a little bit of nausea, but it would last like 5 minutes and it would go away, and it was never extreme. It didn't even really bother me. I didn't have it really bad. And after a few weeks, it went away, and it didn't come back. I just didn't have it. So I was thinking it was the drug, which baffled me because I've been on it for almost a year now. But it was extreme. It was massive. It was almost throwing up levels of nausea. And so I was like, gosh, this is awful. I hope this doesn't continue, because I can't keep doing this. This feels terrible. And it went on for like 3 weeks. So then it hit me. I had changed 2 things about my diet around the time the nausea started. I added the prebiotic probiotic gummy, and I changed my B12 pill. So I was like, well, let me experiment. I stopped taking the prebiotic probiotic, and I stopped taking the folate vitamin that I was taking. Within a week, the nausea went away. So what that told me was, it's probably not the semaglutide. So then for a week, I kind of use myself as a science experiment, you know? I started taking the folate again, and not the prebiotic probiotic, because I really wanted to narrow down, was it that caused it? Within a few days of starting it, boom, nauseous again. So that, and then I tried taking with food, and it didn't help, whatever. So now apparently my stomach can be a little more sensitive, which makes sense because this drug does change the rate of emptying of your stomach. It empties slower. And so maybe this particular supplement was just not a fan of sitting in my stomach longer. But it made me sick to my stomach. But now I know that that's what caused it, and not the semaglutide. Thank goodness. Then I did start taking the gummy again, the prebiotic probiotic, and had no problems. So it was the folate. So what that told me was, I need to really pay close attention when I am changing something about how I eat, what I take, what I consume, because my stomach might respond differently than it has in the past. So that was that. I'm very glad that I narrowed it down and figured out what was causing it and stopped that. And the last thing that I will bring up is, now that I'm at the point where I've lost a somewhat noticeable amount of weight, at least to me, I can see my skeleton again. I have bones. I know they're in there. Which, I mean, I know I have a skeleton, but like, turkey neck is going to be a thing. I'm going to be one of those old ladies that has a crazy turkey neck because I have a lot of loose skin from carrying so much weight in my chin. In my neck, I guess you'd say, under my chin. That's fine. This is my life. I've lived it well. And this is my body, and I'm glad it's kicking, and I'm still here 50 plus at this point. It's really not a complaint. It's just a thing that you have to... Things change when you lose weight. And like the other thing I've noticed, so when I was that heavy at 274, I was just robust, rotund, large. It was easy to like look at my upper arms, which were quite large, but they were just large, just overall large. My whole body was just round. And so now that I'm getting back to closer to a normal weight, I'm still not there. I'm still overweight, but I'm not morbidly obese anymore. I'm just obese. I'm just obese. Hey, you gotta take the wins where they come. Now, my body is more of like... So my arms, for example, my biceps, my upper arms, instead of just being round, I see the arm is there, and then it's got flabby stuff hanging off. It's back to just extra, where I can see where my actual arm is. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm a skeleton that has flab hanging off. I'm not just a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, you know? I don't know how else to describe it. Kind of like I was a big balloon, and now I'm deflating. And you know how the balloon kind of just gets loose? And I'm going to have a lot of loose skin. I know I am. I'm going to have more than I have had in the previous times when I've lost 100 pounds. Not that I know I will get to 100 pounds. I probably will not get to 100 pounds at this age and at this lifestyle and level of activity and whatnot. But those are things I've noticed that a younger version of me would be bothered by. And the current version of me is more accepting of it. It's more of like, yeah, that's who I was, and here's who I am now, and this is the life I've lived. I am the sum of all histories. I am the sum of all of the decisions I've made, good and bad. I am the sum of all those years I mistreated my body, and I'm the sum of the years I am taking care of my body. So I'm kind of just rolling with it, but I am noticing it quite a bit recently. In the last 10 pounds or so, like I can look at my legs, and I remember last time I lost 100 pounds, and I had gotten down to like 155 back then. It was about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I remember looking at my legs, and they didn't look like mine. Like I felt very detached from ownership of my body because it didn't look like my body. It didn't feel like my body. I was taking up so much less space in the world that it was disconcerting to me. And I think the same thing is happening, except that I know it's coming, and I know what that feels like, and I've gone through that before. And I think it will be easier for me. It has been easier for me this time around to look at my leg, like my thigh, and think that does not look like my thigh. And then continue the conversation with myself and say, but that is my thigh. That's my thigh now. And it's good. I'm glad I have a thigh. I'm glad it's strong. I'm glad it works. I'm glad it's alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think having that perspective, it was really hard the first time around, and I think it's contributed, the psychology behind it all, I think, did contribute to why I didn't try harder to not gain weight back, you know? Because, like I said in my last video, part of being so large, it makes you invisible, and I like being invisible. in a weird way. I don't know how to explain that, but a lot of you, that resonated with a lot of people. So I know I'm not the only person that feels that. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to be invisible, but when I thought about like turning 50 and, you know, women become more invisible as they age because they're no longer like the product of, you know, beautiful, beautiful young people, where men seems to be the opposite. They get more attractive as they age in society standards. But I kind of looked forward to that. Like, I don't like being the center of attention. I'm a fly on the wall. Like, I'm an observer. I am not the life of the party. I am not the center of attention. I don't want to be. So, but I think I'm handling that shift a little better than I did a decade ago, last time I lost a large amount of weight. And I think that's going to continue because I feel pretty strong mentally about the progress and what it means to how I interact with the world and how the world sees me, and how the way people treat you differently when you are heavy versus when you are not so heavy, because I've experienced it. And I think experience is helping me this time around. It's not as difficult as it was. It is still a little disorienting because I have a waist again, and it's been a long time. And like, when I see myself in a full-length shot in a mirror without clothes, it is weird because I have a shape again, and it's not just round. And it's just different. I look different, and it can be hard to kind of, if you've been used to seeing yourself in a certain way for so long, who is that person, you know? But I know who that person is. That person's me. I'm the same person inside, and that's not ever gonna. I'm who I am, and I'm at 50. I've grown into my skin, and even if there's a lot of extra of it, I've grown into it, and I'm comfortable in it, and I'm glad, because I think it's gonna stick this time. I think this is good. So that is my 45-week update on semaglutide. Here's to 53 pounds. You can now bet that the next 0.7 pounds to get below 220, every 10 pounds is like a struggle. Because as soon as you get close to that milestone, it's like something sometimes I think it's self-sabotage, and I do that to myself. And sometimes I think the universe is just like, we're going to make you work for it. But yeah, I got 0.7 pounds to cross the next 0 line on my notching down the ladder to get below 220. Here's to it. Hopefully it'll happen this week. That's my hope. I'm going to try to stay good and not self-sabotage. But if I do, tomorrow's another day, and I'll just get right back on the horse and keep on chugging along, because it's life and I'm living it. That's all there is to it. So I hope all of you that are on a weight loss journey, whether you are doing medical weight loss or not, I hope you are finding success, and I hope you are finding comfort in your own skin along with the ups and downs, because there always are, literally and figuratively, emotionally and on the scale. I hope everyone is just making the best of what you got, and that's life. That's how I live it anyway. So there you have it. I would love to hear your stories, what you've got going on. Let me know in the comments down below. Share your experiences, because I think the more experiences we can gather, the more people can find information that can inspire conversations with medical professionals and inspire those kinds of looking into options. This is not the only medical weight loss option. There are lots of options out there now, both via medical prescription drugs and via other medical alternatives. I think if we can just collect a bunch of information, it helps guide people and helps people to find the information that's going to help them. So feel free to share in the comments down below. And as always, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over weight loss with me this time. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.